Hello, this is Gate 1. As part of our Experts of Customer Experience series, Yasmin Sampson de Rocha speaks to Caroline Gross, founder of Smartzer.
How would you describe Smartzer in kind of a single sentence?
Smartzer is a platform which is used by brands to make their videos shoppable and also to build live shopping events, which they can primarily run on their e-commerce.
Amazing. And what would you say, how did you come up with the idea? What was the kind of burning things that you saw that brands were struggling with?
When e-commerce was still quite new, particularly in luxury, there was a trend in brands starting to create more and more video content to tell their story and to showcase their products. But it was then very hard for consumers to go and actually find those products. So we wanted to create that seamless link between video and ability to find out more about those items and also to be able to buy those items. That's then developed into the idea of building a technology that's kind of like an interactive layer that sits on top of video that then enables this.
In terms of the commercial model for Smartzer, can you give me an idea of how you work with brands and what that looks like?
We work primarily on a subscription basis. So we get paid a monthly amount, which gives brands access to our platform, which is now a self-service tool. So they can independently upload videos, tag videos, or build these live shopping events. Historically, we used to only offer an enterprise solution where the pricing would start around £4,000 per month. However, recently we also launched a solution on Shopify so that smaller brands who are starting out can have access to a kind of a simplified version of the platform, which starts at $300. So quite significantly reduced from what it has been traditionally. So for us, it's been quite important to be able to also cater for smaller brands too, because I think there's a huge opportunity in that market segment as well, particularly with live shopping.
Yeah, and especially if you consider smaller premium clothing brands that aren't at the scale of Harvey Nicks or Selfridges, and might not necessarily have a physical store either, but again are premium, have got specialize in kind of customer experience and very much hone in on that to sell their product, then yeah, absolutely, it makes sense to engage in your platform to increase conversion. And a lot of those brands as well probably tend to be more tech savvy because they've started off on social to build their audience and build their customer base. Is it primarily aimed at more of the luxury premium market? I know that's kind of where you started off. Is that kind of where you see your main audience base, or do you see it broader retail as well?
Definitely much broader. So historically, as I said, we started off working with brands with, Dior, Valentino, these types of companies. And also more recently, we've started working more with multi-brand retailers and marketplaces, including companies like Boohooman, Bloomingdale's, where it's also interesting because they have a scope to do so much content because they can, do regular live shows with different brands and things like this. So I think that's super interesting for them, and there's a lot of scope in doing things. And then also resale platforms as well. So platforms that sell secondhand items are using live shopping in order to do that, such as Madison Avenue, for example.
I'm really curious as to when you started Smartzer and how it's evolved, what have been the kind of real columns for you, for want of a better word, in terms of customer experience? Kind of what have been the key drivers and big elements for you in terms of what you've wanted to drive in that arena?
When we actually started off, our product was very focused on kind of making existing video content interactive. and shoppable. The live shopping is something that we only released after the whole trend started in China. But the one main thing I think throughout this whole journey of almost 10 years has been the value is in the information and education. So the whole purpose of it is to make it really easy for people to access more information to then make a decision to do something, whether they want to buy or whatever they want to do. And another one that we've realized is also maybe we haven't focused on it as much, but the actual interactivity element of also using this for non-shoppable use cases. We actually did something recently with Valentino where they made their runway show interactive. You could learn more about the designers and materials and things, and the interaction rates were crazy high. So people actually also just want to use it for that purpose as well, not purely for conversion.
Yeah, I think the education element is really interesting. I think especially as people are more conscious as to, or starting to get more conscious as to where products are made and where products are from and where materials are sourced. And do you see it as an element, especially in the education element, do you see it as an avenue for that as well, in terms of being able to educate onto the kind of immediate thing of what you see and how it can look and how it can feel and what it potentially can be used for if we're going beyond clothing, but actually almost like peeling back the layers of that product?
Definitely. And actually, one of the other interesting things, I guess, when the live shopping first came, because in China, it was very influencer driven. So it kind of started the same in the West. But what we're seeing actually working the best now is brands using their own employees who know their products the best, who perhaps work in the stores, these people running the live streams and engaging a lot with the audience. And there's a lot of questions about, the products and the ingredients and things like this. And you just really need that deep knowledge, but you can tell that when you then provide that, the results are incredible. We actually did something recently with Kiehl's and Bloomingdale's where it was a lady who works at Kiehl's. She did the live stream from her home and she just answered everyone's questions and it was incredible. And obviously the cost of content really low, but the value of what she could offer was brilliant.
Is there anything else that you kind of want to talk about Smartzer in terms of the future, where you're going, things that you're excited about?
I think the whole world is really exciting in terms of interactive video, because I think definitely when we started, it was pretty much uphill battle until now. but everything is changing, and I think if you look in 5 years' time, I really think all content everywhere will be interactive and shoppable. During the sort of like 2020, everybody was like, oh my God, this is crazy in China. They do 20% of revenue like this. We have to try something. And everyone just tried like a one random event. No one really had good enough tech back then to enable this properly. So it was all a bit of a Wild West. Whereas now we're seeing most brands are actually thinking about this as a kind of a regular programming for their e-com in 2023. So brands are starting to even build sections on their website dedicated for live shopping.
Are there any specific case studies that you kind of use when talking to potential clients that show how video increases conversion?
When we think about interactive video, we think about it in terms of, in the past, when you look at the conversion funnel, video was purely for the awareness piece at the top. Whereas now you have all the different layers from discovery down to consideration and then down to conversion as well. All of those steps are equally important because you will have people that obviously drop off in certain ones. And then the ones that go all the way to conversion, brands are currently seeing up to 7.8 times ROI in terms of using shoppable video and live shopping formats. And in general as well, when you look at people who, they land on your website and what is your average conversion percentage, if those people have also interacted with video, they're 4 times more likely to actually buy from you. So it definitely changes the whole mindset of someone interacting with the brand and staying with the website and hopefully also making a purchase.
I'd be really interested to know around how Smartzer and social work together and the, for want of a better word, synergies.
So the way that brands currently tie them together is they would host the shoppable videos on their own e-com typically, but then they build this whole social media campaign around it to drive people to wherever the videos are living. And they would even do things like, let's say when the live show is live on the site, they would go live on Instagram, but kind of like a backstage live of the live, and then tell people, and it's actually working really well. And also you'll see drastic differences, versus if you just go live on Instagram, TikTok, these places, the average viewing times are in, sub 10 seconds. If you do it on your own website, we're talking several minutes. So it's very, very different. So, and actually, interestingly, the audience numbers are not less on the website, which you might think, because the audiences on social are so diluted, particularly on platforms like TikTok, where like things just come and go from nowhere and you can never find them again. So it's we've seen where, someone on TikTok might have 1 million followers, but they'll only get 100 people to their live maximum concurrently. So the drop-off rates are huge. So I think for brands, it's kind of like mixing and matching. So do go live, of course, on socials too, but the purpose of it isn't to drive conversion, really. It's more to then get more people to come to your actual lives on your site.
Yeah, and the lives on the site, I'm assuming, would be it's more of an event. You sign up, you've got it in your calendar. You already are engaged with the brand, or you want to know more about the brand, but it's very much about that brand, what they're offering, and more of an engaging platform. Whereas, as you mentioned with social, it's so diluted, it's more of an engagement to anyone rather than specifically your audience who loves you and loves your brand. One of many challenges that brands have when thinking about using video and thinking about interacting with an audience is getting live feedback, getting questions from the audience, really being able to have audience participation in these events. What tactics have you seen brands use to help with that engagement, to help consumers kind of really participate in those events and also feel like they're kind of really engaging with the brand?
That is actually the biggest challenge, I think, for brands in general, is not the technology or the content itself so much as how you get, how you build that audience and so on. So there's a few things that they use. So I guess the most obvious thing is to offer discounts during the live stream. Some of them also offer, like they would do things like there's going to be a surprise discount during the live stream. So it could be anything from 10% to 50%, and people don't find out until they come. So they have to come, recommend to come. They also run various competitions during the live stream and kind of questions and encourage people to say, do you prefer this one or this one? And then they will hand out gift cards or like individual discount codes and things. So they kind of try to have this gamification element running throughout as well. Also, some of them offering exclusive access to products during the live stream or like a first view during the stream. Obviously, the secondhand products are kind of obvious in a way that there's a lot of FOMO involved because there's only one unit of everything. So you better buy it now. And I think that also it's really important to, so first of all, you have the live event where everyone is engaging, but brands can then also share the recording of the live where you can see all the comments and you can see all the responses and everything. So then getting people to watch those too, and they can kind of almost feel like what was happening during the event. You know, you can read everything, and it's always also really kind of fun and positive. So it's been really interesting for us actually to see that, because often on live streams, when you watch them on platforms like TikTok and things, people start using it as a complaint platform about something, about delivery or whatever went wrong. This never happens when the live event is hosted on the brand's e-commerce, which is quite interesting of why that's viewed as a place where you behave better. I don't know.
Yeah. That is interesting. And I wonder if it's because you've got people that know the brand that are going to the brand's website, and whereas TikTok and any other social media platform is kind of almost a bit of a free for all or something like that, which is super, super interesting. How important did you find the importance of interactivity between a customer and being able to engage with the brand in something like a video format?
I think it's become increasingly more so, especially with the growth of social media platforms, where it's almost normal that you can click on things, you can see more details, you can click on tags, and you know you're liking things and you're automatically interacting with everything already. And also now majority of purchases for a lot of brands are even happening on mobile devices. So that kind of hands-on being with the content is becoming a norm. So enabling this on video content that lives outside of the key social platforms is super important to maintain that consistency and, you know, respond to that consumer behavior.
Amazing. And I'd be really curious to know about the difference, in your opinion, versus video online on a website where people are probably more used to seeing video versus in store and the physical shopping experience, and whether there's any difference in conversion, any difference in the customer experience, and just from your experience, kind of what you think the differences are.
I think definitely if you look at going around retail stores recently, you'll realize that most of them actually display video now within the store. Is typically their campaign films or perhaps their runway shows. We have also done a pilot project. Actually, it was a few years ago with Harvey Nichols, where we put shoppable videos on touch screens in their retail stores. So both sales associates again could use it as a way to engage customers, showcase the products, and kind of have something new and engaging in a similar category, I guess, like you have all these interactive mirrors and things now in changing ways. So I think a lot of the digital is also going into stores. And I also saw something really interesting just last week. There was a brand in the US, I believe, who they do primarily live shopping events on their website, but they actually also display the live shopping events on screens in the store, which I thought was really cool, because it, first of all, it kind of showcases to people who are maybe in the physical space that the brand is doing this in the first place, and kind of raising awareness to this whole new live shopping thing. So I thought that was super cool and so easy to do, because you're just basically run your website on a normal screen, and it doesn't need to be anything technically complicated.
And so moving into the kind of physical arena, obviously you worked with Harvey Nichols on their in-store screens. How does that work? And can you take me through a typical case scenario of how you'd kind of go from initial conversation through to designing this concept and then it kind of being in front of consumers?
Our initial relationship was actually with their e-commerce team. So making certain video campaigns shoppable on their website. And then we also ended up speaking with, you know, different teams from social media who were sharing it through socials and emails and things. And then also the retail team of how can we kind of extend the usage of the asset. And they happen to have touchscreen enabled screens in the store already. So we basically then displayed the shoppable campaign, the same one as which was on the website, but on like a kind of looked like a giant phone on the certain floors, where you could then view the video, actually click on the products. It will show either the products or the looks. And then they built another piece of integration where you could kind of build almost like a wish list of items that you liked, and then print out a little barcode that you could take to the till that would then correspond to the items that you'd chosen. So it was actually a really cool project. And it was something that also then the sales team thought the on the floor was using to interact with customers, which was also quite nice, because you're normally in maybe like a store like that, people are more difficult to approach. So this was a really cool way for them to bring someone over and experience something new.
Yeah, absolutely. And in terms of the customer experience as well, to be able to have that premium level that you wouldn't normally experience in your regular store, to be able to say, I like that look, but I like the jewelry from that.
Exactly.
Can you help me go find all these things, rather than me walking around a store for half an hour and potentially not converting and walking out instead if I can't find the right things.